You are listening to the daily homily for Magdala in the Holy Land.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
At that time, Jesus came to Jericho and intended to pass through the town. Now a man there named Zacchaeus, who was a chief tax collector and also a wealthy man, was seeking to see who Jesus was. But he could not see him because of the crowd, for he was short in stature. So she ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree in order to see Jesus, who was about to pass that way. When he reached the place, Jesus looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, come down quickly, for today I must stay at your house." And he came down quickly and received him with joy. When they saw this, they began to grumble, saying, "He has gone to stay at the house of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Behold, half of my possessions, Lord, I shall give to the poor. And if I have extorted anything from anyone, I shall repay it 4 times over." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a descendant of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save what was lost." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
There's a very powerful word in the psalm, who slanders not with his tongue. That's a great test of a human being, not to speak negatively about others, to take from their name. Calumny is to say something that is not true about others. And slander, I'd have to check that out again, exactly what it is. Detraction is when somebody has done wrong and you announce it. And people have respect for the person, but you're revealing their faults. And these are difficult areas in our time because sometimes people have covered up the bad, but in a way of just escaping justice. But everybody has a right to their good name. And St. James says that the person who speaks negatively of others, or who does not speak negatively of others, who speaks well of others, is a perfect person. So we all have to watch how we talk about each other. Even in confidence, let me tell you confidentially, even within the family, about the in-laws, about the neighbors, about my sister, about my brother. A lot of small talk done in confidence, and a lot of stuff that gets said quietly in confidence later is revealed. Relationships rearrange their loyalties because of issues that happen over time. And the itch we have to share the negative about others, something which brings a lot of money for some media and a lot of attention in some talk shows, is something that doesn't build up society. It's harmful. Obviously, people who are dangerous, the society has to have structures and ways that these people are protected. And it's a very challenging balance, but when we do it just to hurt others, to harm others, to bring them down, that's evil. And in St. James's letter, it talks about how that actually is so sinful. It's killing the moral person, because now once you talk badly about somebody, others will have a very hard time trusting that person for a business deal. and you heard that that person is a cheat or that person doesn't keep their contract. These are very sensitive things, and they harm. And so the human being has a right to their good name. And when it's said in evil, with evil intent, then it's much worse. And sometimes we are in the habit of doing it, and that's a bad habit. And when we have good habits, it's called a virtue. And when we have bad habits, it's called a vice. And so maybe we don't have the vice of murder or the vice of stealing, but maybe we have the vice of speaking badly about others, of which there's no necessity and there's no gain for anybody, only harm. And we don't know where that person who was that criminal is today. Maybe that person has converted. Maybe they're much further along the way of holiness than we are, much further along the path of growth with God. Imagine people pointing a finger at Mary Magdalene her whole life long. The one with the 7 demons. When it's mentioned in the gospel, it's mentioned because of the grace that God gave her. And now she's the witness to the resurrection. That's the big statement of the gospel. But there could be some people that would still point out at her with negativity. And that harms. That limits the person's capacity to be a good influence because their name is ruined. And to restore the good name of a person is almost impossible. How can you gather feathers that blow away in the wind? And when we say something bad about some person, we have no idea where it's going to end up being retold. How can you recover that? And in order to counter bad speaking, what a beautiful thing it is when you meet somebody who always has a positive word to say about each person in the family, who always has a positive word to say about each neighbor. It's easy to find people who speak badly. Precious treasure to have people around you who speak well. A precious gift to give to others that's people are well spoken of. Some families teach the children that. One thing is to be like Zacchaeus and to cheat in tax collecting, and that was in his own pocket. Another chapter in his life was his conversion and meeting Jesus, and he turned around completely. So maybe if we have a bad habit of speaking about others, we could use this moment because of this psalm to ask for the grace to be transformed in the way we see people, the way we understand them and value them, and then speak well about them. And when somebody, let's say there's some child in school that has some bad behavior trait, but the teacher or an older child brings out something good about the child, now they have something to live up to. And that helps them to come out, to pull them up by their bootstraps, to help them to come up, to be a redemptive people. And this is what Jesus does with Zacchaeus. They all pointed the finger and they said, how can you go and stay in his house? He's a criminal. And Jesus doesn't mind, he does mind, but he doesn't give way to the negative talk. Oh, he's sitting with tax collectors and prostitutes. And we don't like to sit with people that everybody's pointing the finger at them. We want to be in the best company. We'd love to be with Sister Marie Alphonsine. We'd love to be in the circle with Jesus, but yes, most of us are sinners and weak people, redeemed people who receive a lot of forgiveness along the way. And this is what John is telling us here in the book of Revelation, telling the church in the different expressions of the church in different cities to wake up. I'm at the door knocking, and the handle is inside. Open the door. You have to open the door. We have to open the door. And Jesus will come in and sup with us and have community with us. What a beautiful gift. What a way to live. And that culminates, like for Sister Alphonsine, I will seat the victor beside me on my throne.
Thank you for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Magdala, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook.